Okay, so the first thing we need to do is start a project in Unity. And on top of starting the project, we're going to go ahead and set up our folder structure in this video so that we can keep all of the files and assets nicely organized as we progress through this video series. So Lee, let's go ahead and get Unity open.
All right, no problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Unity, but I'm going to use the Alt option, which is going to cause a dialog to pop up to let us either open a different scene or create a whole new scene altogether.
Now, let me add this real quick. I noticed that when you double-click the icon, you held Alt after you double-clicked it.
Correct. If you actually try to double-click while holding Alt down, the system will recognize that almost as a right-click and bring up options. So if I try to double-click, it actually brings me up with the properties for that program instead. So what I end up doing is I double-click, and as soon as I finish the double-click, then I hold Alt down.
Very nice.
And then that gets me my dialog window that I need. And seeing as how we're creating a new project, I'm going to select the Create New Project tab. I'm not going to select any of the packages because I want a blank project to start with. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Browse. We're going to scroll down to the U drive, and we're going to create a new folder here. As you can see, there's already a folder here called Source Assets. This is a folder I created ahead of time and moved a couple of the assets that we're going to need for this project. So what I'm going to do is click the New Folder button, and I'm just going to give this folder a name called Simple Level. Just nothing complicated, just folder. It's selected. Down here it says Simple Level. I hit Select Folder, and I go ahead and hit Create. That's going to tell Unity that to do all the background work that it needs to create the project for us. And once Unity finishes opening, we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the project pane, and I'm going to start off by creating some of those folders you were talking about. Now the very first folder I'm going to create, and I'm going to hit F2 to rename this, is going to be called Scenes. And actually I want to capitalize Scenes.
And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and throw in a little bit of extra about why you're doing the underscore.
Okay.
Really, it's just for organizational purposes because everything that is shown in the project pane is in alphabetical order. And what happens is you'll end up with a lot of folders, a lot of files in your project, and your folders are going to end up getting mixed in with the files in such a way that it actually makes it difficult to locate stuff unless you start using that search bar above. So as you're scrolling through, you might see a folder in which you step inside, and inside that folder you see file, file, folder, file, folder, folder, file. Doing it this way, everything that is a folder is going to be listed first, and then your files representing your scripts, assets, etc. All that comes afterwards.
Exactly. I can demonstrate it if I create, say, a prefab instead of a folder. And in this case, I'm going to move it out to the root level, and I'm going to rename it, let's name it Character. So if you look at it, alphabetically, Character comes before the M in Material, and I left the underscore off just so we can demonstrate. If I hit Enter, you can see now that our folders that we named with the underscore are at the top of the list. Then we have a prefab called Character, and then we have another folder called Material after that. You can imagine on a very large project that has hundreds and hundreds of assets and folders, this can get very confusing if they're mixed in with each other.
Yeah, another nice thing before you delete that empty prefab out that we can show is you can use the search bar to help you out when you're looking just for a particular folder and you happen to have hundreds of folders. You can just put an underscore there now. And now you're looking at just your top level folders, which is very convenient.
Yep, exactly. So
and of course you'd also see folders within those if those folders were open and they had underscores.
Correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up a little bit. We'll get rid of the prefab that we just created. And then I'm going to come in and rename the material. And I forgot the S on it, so underscore materials. And I'm going to continue to create a couple more folders. These are just folders that I like to have at the beginning of every project. Just for the most part, you almost always use these folders. So they're good to create right off the bat.
Yeah, but obviously you're not locked into these particular names.
Obviously, yeah, absolutely not. You can do anything that you want.
Nor the structure. I mean, you could set up, well, I won't get into that. I'll save that for another upcoming project.
Right. Well, the goal is basically if you start by being organized and you keep at it, it's easier to stay organized than to come back and try to organize a large project after you've let it go.
Absolutely.
So let's see, what other ones do I want to do? Let's create a fonts. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to click off so I don't create subfolders again. And this one will be meshes. This folder is where we're going to put all the stuff that we import in from Maya in a little bit. So let's see, I got fonts, materials, meshes, scenes, scripts, and textures. And that should be enough folders to get us started with. And you know, they don't have to all be created before you start. If I come back later and go, oh, I forgot one, I can add it at any point. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save our scene now. So I'm going to come up here to File. I'm going to hit Save Scene. And here's our structure that Unity has been so kind to create for us behind the scenes inside the folder that we created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our Scenes folder, and I'm going to save the scene that we're creating as demo. Hit Save, and if you come back here to the project, there's the demo scene that we just created. And basically, this is how I go about starting every Unity project that I'm getting ready to work on.
Yeah, so with that, that is going to wrap up this video.